Hey guys, welcome to the vocal warm-up and technique portion of our video today. We are going to start right off with breathing, and I am standing right now, a little different than what I've done before, because this exercise, I want you to be able to see what's going on in my abdomen so that you can then emulate it yourselves. So today we're learning, in the past 2 weeks we've learned about what kind of breathing you need to make a really great full sound as you sing. It was a low belly breath, if you recall, where we breathe in and everything puffs out, and when we breathe out, everything retracts back towards our spine. So we're going to just breathe together first, and then I'm going to introduce this new concept that we're going to work on today. So let's just breathe together. Everyone, get into a relaxed position, feet a little bit apart, standing up, shoulders relaxed. Take a breath from your low belly. You can put your hand on your belly to double check that it's happening. Here we go. And out. Watch my belly. Breathe in. And out. Again, in and out. Great. Now, if this is still hard for you to feel that natural low belly breath, remember it's the most natural breath that we have. When you're sleeping, that's the way that you're breathing. You're breathing in that low place. If you watch a baby cry, that baby, you can see its whole abdomen just swell up. And then as they unleash that huge cry, it all of a sudden depletes and you see everything clench back in. And they never lose their voices. So babies have got it right. That's what we're going for. If you still aren't feeling that natural breath and you still feel like you're breathing up here, and you still feel your shoulders are rising and your sternum is all tight, go ahead and lay on the ground and do that breathing. So we'll do 2 more breaths. And if you still aren't feeling it naturally happen while you're standing, go ahead and lay down. I'll give you a second. Okay, so here we go again. We're going to take a breath in, hold, and breathe back out. We're going to fill the intertube. Remember, filling the intertube up, and then we'll breathe out. Ready? Breathe in and out. And it tucks back in. Breathe in, you fill up. And breathe out, you tuck back in. Great. If you're on the floor, you can stand. I'm going to introduce the new breathing technique this week. So this is something called active breathing. And the reason it's called that is that we are teaching our muscles that naturally are working for us while we're breathing in that low place. We're teaching them to be active and alert to whatever we need them for while we're singing. And sometimes we need to give ourselves a little oomph to maybe get to a high note or get through the end of a phrase of music and we're running out of air. And we can train our muscles in our low belly, in our abdomen, to help us give a little pulse of air. So to demonstrate what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you this little, I got this in a package. It's a little air bubble package thing. What are these called? Sealed air. Anyway, air pouch. So you can see that it's full of air. There's still some slack in there. Watch what happens when it's all filled. Watch what happens when I squeeze one end. One end gets really tight and pressurized, right? Because we are squeezing some air out of one end to pressurize the other. Again, all of a sudden the air gets moved this direction. So this is kind of a great example of what we're going to be working on today. So instead of all the air getting trapped at the top and have nowhere to go, in our bodies when we're singing, the air isn't trapped. We're squeezing down here to release air. Instead of getting trapped, release air out of our mouths through our vocal cords to create a great supported sound. So I mentioned it, I think last week, something called breath support. And we are learning to do that through the exercise of active breathing. We're learning to create pressure down here to then make sure all the air is then popping out of us up here, and then we aren't using our throats or anything up here to make that happen, only here. And that takes some practice. It's all natural things. I mean, all these things that I'm going through right now, they're naturally within your ability and in your body, but sometimes we gotta train it a little bit to really be on call for when we need it while we're singing. So I'm gonna teach you a very simple exercise today. It's the ch exercise. And it's just what it sounds like. We're making that CH noise, and as we're doing it, you're going to notice that you naturally are pressurizing your air down here in order to make that sound, because it's a very aspirated sound. That means it is full of pressurized air. So there's a lot of consonants and sounds that we have in the English language that are aspirated sounds. Some other ones are the F sound, the T sound, the K sound. So those are just some other examples, but we're gonna use CH. That's my favorite one to start with. I want you to watch what it looks like when I do this exercise. I want you to see what's happening with that pressurized air when I really use that sound of CH to tuck back in, tuck back in. Watch. Here, I'll do that in a second. Do you see that? It's almost like I'm doing a belly dancer dance. My belly is really moving. It is pulsing with my air. So what's happening is basically this. I'm using my lower abdomen to I am squeezing the air that I have filled up my space with, and I'm squeezing it to be pushed out. And the word push, I don't want that to be something that we translate into pushing here. Certainly not. We are pushing air only here, never ever here. If you ever feel tight in your throat, or you feel like you're using your throat to do that idea of pushing, you're doing it wrong. And that is not good for your body or for your voice. Only from here, okay? And the ch is just an easy way to access that feeling. So we're all about just finding the feeling today, okay? So for those of you who are feeling that full breath on the ground best, go ahead and lay down. That's where you're gonna feel it in the easiest way. So for those of you who need that, go ahead and lay down. On your back, eyes to the ceiling, hand on your belly. Everyone else who's still standing, we're gonna go ahead and fill up with our air and make 4 CH noises in a row. Ready? Breathe in. All right, we're gonna do it again. I want you to notice that when I fill up the first time and I make the first CH noise, I immediately fill up again. So you should see your belly doing this. Fill up, deplete. Fill up, deplete. Fill up, deplete. Fill up, deplete. All right, that's what we're doing with that motion, with that sound of CH. Let's do it again. Ready? Breathe in. All right, so that's an easy one for you to take away for the week and practice. Again, we're just starting to train ourselves to create a really healthy breath pressure to then help us while we're singing, because sometimes, as we'll see in the song that we're working on today, A Whole New World, there's some high parts that I really need a lot of breath pressure to help me get up and over those pitches without reaching for them and squeezing in my throat, so I can use just my air to make those beautiful sounds. All right, guys, that's active breathing, and next we're gonna move on to tension reduction exercises. Good job. So for this week, for tension reduction, we're going to do an exercise that I think you'll all be able to accomplish. It's a lip trill when you do. Most people can make that sound. Not everyone can. If you can't, give yourself a break. Don't be frustrated. And just keep practicing it. I've seen so many students who aren't able to do that sound eventually be able to. So that's the exercise this week with a windmill arm. So I'm not in a great position right by my bookshelf here to do the windmill arm. But basically, when we're doing these lip trills and we're going to voice them, We'll do a three-note voiced lip trill. And we're going to do a windmill arm while we're doing that exercise. And so the reason this is a tension reducing exercise is sometimes while we're singing, and the lip trill is mimicking when we're singing, but it's cutting out any kind of other tension we might have when we're singing. So because it's so flappy and fluttery with our air, we're not really using our tongues, we're not using our jaw, so it kind of negates any of that issue. And then the reason we're doing windmill arms is I find that sometimes when we're singing scales, when my students are singing scales, or even me, we can get a little tight in our necks. For some reason, our body really wants to control what is coming out of our mouths physically. So that's why the tongue, the jaw, and the neck are three areas of singing tension. Get so tight. They just want to help, but they're not helping. So I find that windmill arms is a really good way to kind of pull our brain's focus to another part of our body that's not going to inhibit our singing at all. But it's so focused on creating that windmill motion that sometimes other things release that otherwise would be really tight while we're singing. So I like windmill arm for our necks. So the neck, it just happens to do things like stretching forward while we're singing. It's like trying to aid us hit a high note or something, or a low note. Sometimes we drop our chin. And I find also that there's just like a stiffness for young singers in our necks. We just seem to like want to control what's happening with our necks. So windmill arms is a super easy way just to pull our brain's focus away from anything here and onto that motion in our arm. And bonus, whenever we're doing the windmill motion, it actually is a really nice visual for our brains too of what our air is doing during our singing, what our air should be doing, and a great image is that up and over, up and over, up and over. That's what air is doing. It's just kind of going in a circular pattern. Not literally, but that's what it should feel like. It should feel like air is just moving in a circle through our voices. Right? Anytime we have to go up and over into a high note range, we want that up and over feeling. So that's what I always use when I talk to my students. I say, get up and over that note, or use the circle of air to get over that note. I try to feed images to them to kind of help them get away from thinking of, I'm reaching for that high note, and then tension creeps in. That image of reaching for a high note is really toxic for our brains and for our singing, because your body really will respond to the imagery that you give it. So also the words that you give it. So if I say reach for that note, your body will respond to that word that I just used. So that's why I like to use the word circle and up and over. I think those are really helpful words. So, done talking about it, let's try it. We're just going to do that three-note up and down figure. So for those who know solfege, it's do, mi, so, mi, do. And then we'll move up about an octave. So I can't really get my arm going here, can I? That's what it should look like. I'm not going to be able to do it while I'm playing for you, but I trust that you're going to be able to do it. Okay, so get your arm ready and get your lips fluttering. Let's just do a basic flutter with no sound on it first. Let's just do a... Your turn. You should be able to go a pretty long time if you're really connected to your air. And you'll know you're connected to your air before you start trilling, your stomach puffs out and you're all full. And as you start going, you start feeling your stomach slowly come back to your spine. If it goes back to your spine real fast, then you're out of air too fast. This is part of breath control. I've mentioned that before. We have to control how our abdomen slowly recedes with air back to our spine. I'm all out of air. Now I'm out of air. Make sense? All right. Now let's just do a little siren on our lip trill just to get our voices going. Your turn. Here we go. Just anywhere. There's no specific spot that we're headed for. All right. So you might have noticed I do a little bit of a head shake. That's also to release tension in my neck. We're all about the neck today. So while you're doing it, you can just kind of gently do a little bit of this. It's just teaching our necks to let go. That's all. We're just teaching our neck to let go of tension and not help us while we're doing our singing. So let's do this exercise. Ready? We're going to start right here. I'll demonstrate first, and I'll try to do my windmill arm. I can't. I'm going to hit this. Just imagine that I did a full windmill when I'm doing this baby T-Rex arm. All right, your turn. Get your windmill arm going. Ready? All the way up and over. Here we go. This is the full windmill, okay? So don't do my T-Rex arm example that I just did. Here we go. Ready? Windmill arm, lip trill. Of course, you can stop the video now and keep practicing with each other. Otherwise, we're going to move on from our tension reduction and go to clarity and resonance next. All right, guys, I'm going to introduce an exercise that I use for myself every time I vocalize, and I use it pretty much every lesson I give for my private voice students. It's called the NG exercise. So what NG is doing for us is it is going to create a natural area for us to feel some resonance inside of our faces. So you might recall back at lesson 1, I kind of took you through the anatomy of our voices, what's going on inside our bodies while we're singing. And in an image that I put up, we were talking about the larynx and your vocal cords living right at the top of your larynx and how they work. But in the image, you could see the whole face, and you would have seen these little cavities that run right here. That is your nasal cavity, and it is one of the most important resonators for your singing. And again, resonators, that's just the area that's a little hollow inside your body where air can bounce around in and create a full, vibrant sound as it exits your body. So these are really important resonators, and we want to utilize them while we're singing. And NG, that sound at the end of an ing word, so sing or singing, that NG sound, that's a really useful tool to start making sense of what we're feeling inside our resonator. So not only does that sound help us feel what's going on here, it feels buzzy. For most people would describe it as a buzzy feeling. It's also setting us up inside of our singer mechanism. Right at the top of our mouth is something called the soft palate. You have a hard palate, and then in the back you have a soft palate. So everyone get your thumb and just put it at the top, the roof of your mouth. That's where your soft palate lives. And the soft palate is really important for singers to learn how to manipulate, but it is tough because it's really hard to feel whenever it lifts up, and that's what we want as a singer. We want the soft palate not to be like this at the roof of our mouth. We want it to be like this, and that sound naturally lifts it up. So we use the NG sound not only to explore our resonators, but also to lift the soft palate. And the reason we want it lifted is, let's say that this is our mouth, right? Okay, here it's all the sound is exiting. This is a terrible graphic. And we have a sound exiting our mouths, and let's say it's just like this. The soft palate's down. Are we gonna get a lot of bouncy air and sound coming through there? Some, but most likely you're going to be flat on your pitches. There's just not enough space for the sound to bounce and to create a really lifted, resonant sound. So what we do is we lift that soft palate, and then all of a sudden, you've got way more space for the sound to vibrate out of your mouth, out of your mechanism, out of your body. That's what we're doing with the soft palate. We want it raised. It's just really hard to figure out how to do it. So I'm going to give you a couple exercises over the course of these videos. NG is the introductory one. I should say, if you want to feel the difference between dropped and lifted, I think one of the easiest ways is to make a snore noise. So if you go very gently, be gentle, you should feel a puff of air at the roof of your mouth. That's your soft palate raising. You should be able to feel a puff of air kind of going on. It's strange. Do that with me. And again. That's your soft palate raising. That little cool air that you're feeling at the roof of your mouth. You can only feel that if your soft palate is raised. So that's the difference between down and up for your soft palate. And now we're going to talk about NG. Alrighty, so best way to find a clear NG without your tongue going all over the place or your jaw being weird is just to start with a word that has NG in it. So I'm going to use sing, since this is a singing lesson. So everyone just say, sing with me. Ready? Sing. Yeah, try again. Sing. And we're kind of saying it / intoning it. It's like between singing and speaking. And you can do that on a sigh. Sing. Want to try that? Like a sigh. Sing. Yeah. And so now we're going to hold out that NG for a long time so you can really find it. It's going to sound like this. Sing. Or as long as you can. I can hold it a long time. Here we go. We're going to hold it as long as you can. Sing. All right, cool. So what should be happening inside your mouth when you're doing the NG noise? Your tongue should just be sitting really relaxed behind your lower teeth. Sing. It's not doing anything. It's got a little bit of shape in the back of it to create the NG sound, but otherwise it's relaxed behind your lower teeth. A really great way to work on this exercise is to look into a mirror. And you also want a very open mouth. So you would think you would have a closed mouth. No, we don't want that. We want We're gonna be making lots of weird noises today. So if you want to remind yourself to open your mouth, you can put one finger on your chin. Sing. Try that. Sing. Okay, I think we're ready to put some melody to it. So for the NG, I just use something called the NG slide. So it's just a slide from a do to a so, back to a do, like this. And it's all accomplished on my air. Without air, you're not going to be able to really create that NG sound very well. It's going to feel like it's in your throat, and we don't want that. So you're going to feel a sense of buzziness or tingliness going on because that sound is really resonant, but we don't want to ever feel like it's in your throat. If you feel that, something's wrong. You want to feel like your air is perpetuating the sound. So let's try that together. Listen to me again one more time. And here's a fun thing. If you're really doing it correctly and the resonators are happening, when you start making the sound NG, and if you close your nostrils, you won't be able to make the sound like this. So if you're curious if it's working correctly, you can just close your nostrils in the middle of that sound and see if your sound stops. If your sound stops, then you're at least using your resonators for sure. And you can be correct on that part. All right, we're gonna go up the scale and come back down on that NG slide. If you need to start with the sound sing to get there, go ahead. You can do sing. That's also an option. Always remember to keep it nice and light and that up and over feeling. If you want to use your windmill arms on this, I think that's great. Ready? Here we go. Nice and light. Right here. Breathe in. Just a few more. Ooh, you can even hear a little pop in my voice. Here we go again. All right, I think that's enough for now. It's a lot to think about. While you're going about your week, think about that snore breath where you can feel your soft palate raise. Play with that a little bit so you can feel what's happening. Play with NG. Remember, if you feel it's like it's really stuck in your throat or your throat is like tight, don't stop. That means that you're using your throat. We don't want that. Always feel like it's just riding on your air every time. So play with that one this week. That's just an introduction to what resonance feels like. It feels kind of buzzy and tingly, and it's also an introduction to how we raise our soft palate to get the most resonance. In the coming weeks, I will teach you another NG exercise, which then combines a vowel with it, so you can really feel open. So that's the end of our warm-ups. Great job, everybody. I'm going to move on now to our game of the week, and I'll teach it to you real quick, okay? Okay, guys, the game this week I think is even easier than last week. This is a really good one to do with little kids. For the older people in the family, this will not be a challenging one for you, but I think it's still a really silly, fun game. So it's another rhythm game, and what we're learning in this game is all about the big beat and how to fit in text into the big beats. Which is what we're doing when we're learning our song, right? We're always clapping that big beat, and then we're fitting in the words in between. So it's a game to introduce that idea. So it's pretty easy. You're going to basically be keeping a big beat, and then for 2 beats you're quiet, for 2 beats you're speaking, for 2 beats you're quiet, for 2 beats you're speaking, and you're going around a circle. If there's only one of you, go grab a friend to do this with. You do need at least 2 people to play this game. So what we're gonna do is just pick a category, or you're gonna pick a category. Let's say favorite foods, or movie stars, or that one might be hard, or sports, or animals. So pick a category, let's say animals, and you're going to start the big beat. So you're gonna do 2 claps on your knees and 2 claps, not claps, sorry. You're going to do 2 claps on your knees, 2 that are silent. The silent ones are where the category words are gonna fit in. So let's say we're all doing this together. We're all at the same time doing this sound all together. And one person's gonna start. And if there's several of you, you're just gonna go in a circle. And when it's your turn, in that silent beat, you're gonna say your word that you picked. So let's say we're doing animals, so bunnies, dogs, horses, lions. I couldn't think of another animal, apparently. So yeah, maybe it's not so easy because I just blinked out on an animal. I almost said rabbit and I was like, nope, I said bunnies 2 seconds ago. That's the same animal. Anyway, I'm sure you're gonna be better at it than I am, but that was me doing it all by myself. So that's harder when you have to come up with all the words yourself. So ideally, you're going in a circle and everyone gets their turn and you just keep going around until someone messes up, like me. So enjoy that game. If you want to make it harder, you would pick a harder category like movie stars, and then you got to be really quick to think of someone. And remember, it always comes on the silent beat. That's where you get the chance to say your word. And then we're always doing that beat together. That's the big beat that we're keeping going. And then we're just fitting in the words on those silent beats. All right, have fun with that. And that's the end of our warm-up and game. So at the end of this video, go ahead and play that game together. And if you would like, you can hop on over to week 3 song video, because we're learning a whole new world. And yeah, okay, enjoy this game. And thanks for joining me for the warm-up.